Palu Karela mu video kal.
Assalamualaikum badi ngolo kal konto ngal token don nal konto kendo la nal badi malem la jadama la CEO radio alaj na studio te jam sal sato nyokono bi en mat karotili nano nyinna mali ngam yankolo nata pour kanana UDP la press conference men ya soto bi pour kana kaw domanin sambale na den ning sunte obotala sina labang tol ko da katuko acham fatale audio men kaf nyoma aning dabola diamoni daboy men itandi gambia dingolla comme ning ale karto faye ay kalingin nako ila UDP mansa kunlani o sita nyim banko kan banko la economy iba aski kandila le ba selendila iba betiandila iba faramansandila comme dunia banko kota on marala kendol ka banko la fanko e ka topoto nyame yo anim fanang asay bakola ay ikalingin nako ninga atra fang itulwe mansala corruptionum feneti men atleka bankola fanko fa atleka banko samba koma atleka bankola fanko nying akana sindi banko buka iriwano banko buka tano dulato because mune keta kodo kadun dingral mento amanyen na kadun dingral mento akadun wolento so wayatin nako ate banko nyimbuka yirwano freng banku ningata tapalian kalabantea ninjunja wol siata abanko kan an sekunda nya kasala abanku buka yirwano so ngaddo man ning karang sa fo face follow nyindo ay mem sata embe den ala press conference lo den ngana ala voice fanang ay sata nyamen sina o falanta ngo fanang sambalina loya Ousainou Darboe ko party secretary general leader United Democratic Party wala UDP jama ka komandi nyamen ay kaliko ala party yin ibe yana ibe simfalta la men abe bamban na bake abe kole ala bake pour dron kalo kaje ko na banko kan tapaleanin kalabante ya wo kana soto na banko kan ako mu veneti men niaje fong ibe suti ala kata o ka kafu dingram me ko China pour sikelo keno nyamen wala anti-corruption policy ibe men landila banko kan olom simfal ning tamandri nyalla tapalanin kalbante ay bokella Gambia of kono nyamen o ferol teng ako omu kuleti men abe senyandro le kekanko olom mo killing ebe fala de ako mo killing ite fala comme ni muta comme China nyol kamen bari be suti ala comme China nyol kamen o kamala mbalengolu ate ayi tandi ko ningata momoran ning tele keta moti men ye tinyaro ke ye banko la kodo tinya e banko la kodo sunya ebe italale ebe mutalale ebe prostitute lale donc nin loi e muta ebe kala molti men o loi o semboni o lebelale e kungokan ako maybe we will be like China akasi keno mbekela comme China de natra ite keta moti men ye muta sunya rolla kiti yesamba kiti la muta ko sunya rol ke banko la fen ako fenneti ite fala de bari binana men kala wala severe punishment be butir jaw bina men tala kalite kan Darboe anyi tandi ko jabiro kono otumo ya ngininka ko how he ala mansakunda hamo muneti pour kaje ko kanyin tapalianin kalabante ya membe na bankoka ninga atra ya atombong ka ki president nyindi ay yabiro men ko to anyin to bambandi ko ako UDP olbe pare na sobeya kono ka keloke ati ñin tapaleyanin kalabanteyami na bankota a tongdete sayi abokini jino ay ñin seniyandi ko ati its role in revitalization or revitalizing the Gambian economy walam itolla man sakunda ay ñin seniyandi ko la do ko be kala moneti ron ko bankola fanko ñin ka betiyandi koteke ka seyda ñama abe anyanta kala ñame anyanta tamala ñame ako famfang ko when we come into the government ako ni nata marlola Gambia banko kan jenko wakela fendedi meng thing we will fight against wakela fendedi meng ibe men kelela kelol kono follow ibe darto kela men ako ila fitamen na ron ka murundiro kenon kote kenna bankola fanko ka faraman sanda e betia ni nata gibe aitandi ñame ako we want to make sure ako laftajila ko Gambia ala fanko ñing ay nake fendi ay tra Gambia dungul fango bulo kono ati aitandi ñame ako we will protect our strategic national assets minambe kantaro kela na bankola din fengol menu fenkumal men ga fe wulu banko e ke kanta ke tanka e kana na dum mo kotangol blokon ako we will not sell them nte wafila we will make Gambia benefit from it ibe kila din grame banko se tono soto jeto Darboe men itandi ala press conference nyinto so press conference nyin jamfadale ya menke ila officer bi manjay say ngata ngaji be fonse ala full wano yin sotno kerfatu wang bari kerfatu buwa gajiko ate bejele ay yin conference yin attend bidon fo isa samanang okay ngaji be fo ndanda lamin janto fo ase continue no bang ako why are they now down? Come young maybe we will be like but certainly when we come nin nata man sakundang in the kelo men follow kela olam tapalian in kalavante be wole talanga kele so abenyim fo kan ko fanan niaje ko na banko kin muna fam fengol menna Darboe yen senyandi jete ko gamtel anin gamsel in mudin kralte nu profitable state owned telecommunication ola bankola din krala mu chokinyolo la bunda men a company nyim men bankoka tono soto je bakele ka kafundro ke bake ni nata jibe bankola fanko nyindo they are struggle to poor management comme ça mbe tembo mento e baka fengo fenne keno amansum fenna mone o sabu wala sai men be marling jela ako why sa munatin na nyim be jikan e buka fenna fano banko ya nginin karo kola ako why is the government even thinking of selling them ako munatin na fanan banko na mansa kunda ibe mira kan fo dengira fanan ise wotata kaje wafi nyame abe nginin karo ke kan wala ako an asset as important as your communication outlet ako sako ite fengomen ila soto fengomen be kumayari membe ko sako chokonyolo bunda nyinna ako there are security implication in that ako tankola karo kole akosi sotno je mantoro sotno je bari jemu denkral dame akumata banko e bakel Darboe nyi tande ko ako Eco TV International ako aynyim fo Eco TV International babo na tenten ako iko ate UDP la nyaton gonying anyi tandi ko Gambia La Port Authority was highly profitable dingralan daming a profito water bake he highlighting ay nyinje senandiko that it first management director komang ila men martaje nung membe ko captain Sala animbana itandi jeto ko with a small office komang office ning animbana successfully the foundation office on ya dati men na kaje topoto ole nyindingra ay fundament ala fondament ta a landi jeto purkana na fafuta tembo doto over time wato men tambita denga ko nying port authority ya kono fanundi significantly wala ya kono fanundi back even acquiring as selling boat that operate along the West African coast ani kaje ko fon ye kulungul men ka ta na ndandang la jeto men ka borin na bali kono jeto na Africa tilji port authority yol besan Pap Cham Ali Mboji Mamadou Gueye in begeta molel di begeta nyaton koti na port authority poro nyinto and making good profit e tono basam manang bankoe poro nye what has gone wrong ako mune mambetia santeng o mune mantano for the port puru na nyim poro nying ko not to be able to compete for it is nyosea kenola Senegal anginin karo keola those days ako watol dol tamita nung kafu nyaming ako Guinea Bissau were having all their goods ila marzandisol pay akajina minto banjun poro nyinto there were a lot of transit jeto keta dinkral te damen fengol met dol ka bonang bantla banko dol kay ka tambi jella kata dinkira kotongol ku jama be je mem ka tama jeto men ka nafaso tundi boat di Gambia and Bissau keta fenete o gol men ka tama jeto aka na nafa basamanan Gambia mansakunda men be ko iningine Bissau tema Mali had their goods Mali fanankela fengol samanan through Gambia la bari porte balaji poro mansoto Mali inata jibe kasamana Gambia Bangol ako why it is not happening sakusai munatin na nyi mantra keka ginin karo kyola ako why was the opportunity not taken to expand our ports walam munatna manna tumota o kamanta be soto ka jeko kanna poro kono fanundi pri nyin kukilon se continue no nyame hanbi atidabo be continue kan jalairo ke bake dinate ka menna public private partnership comme mansakunda ka do kolmen di anim dinkra kotol tema ayitando ko ko membe ko Gambia la poro port authority anim fanan ka mena al bayark wala multimen martala santen turki solten acquiring that arguing that it was equivalent to selling the port at ya temen ni nyamen ininyu tema kambe men so je wala nyinte ko isa fodrong ni akuntaki aning sandrole be kering in albarak company membe ko turki company me marlen na poro la sai in fact akotonya they have sold it now ako san betem momento ya wafle de fap abantade ako kati ko nyagibe if you give your asset to someone for 30 years ninga traite yela fengol soto fengol ta ya luasi moma o ya di mola purka tamandi sangi tan sabete bulote malala ako mo fenneti o sembo wata bake ako 80% going to that person sako niajibe soto men ka kawoto kemo kono sidlatanse wakata omar o mokilo olea so mu feneti men 20% o men to the ye coming to you okanete item from tam feonyinda ako that is literally selling it wala nginte trong etia mo me wala wafi la asset ala diamo nyin ay men sata gedo ka continue na dina tentanga itando ko why privatized season was not necessarily a bad idea ko kamen ka dulanyin ka ke fansung lu afaya do ko ka faye ka mina privatized season umu fenneti ako manke mira jawti ako it should prioritize Gambian ownership anyanda kila nyadi Gambia ta nyanda kelol ta mangena kila wandi banko mola private dinkra nyinda kira hani adi Gambia din wala ya tamande fa ka fisa Gambia company ako we do not mind getting Gambia Ports Authority privatized ako mteki ala komen ka Gambia la poro nyinka alonda faya doko ka faye company ka company te mem mo kote mara ako but we want Gambian to take it lafita Gambia din wala taka adokundi. We want Gambians to be the owner. Lafita Gambia dingol oleleka amariti, and that can be done in some many other ways. Ndo sikeno nyakote jama nyakote jama asikeno nyame. Ako can't ako nina rajibe the foreign company that is taking it must be able to get financing somewhere. So we can't, why can't you also get a syndicate of Gambian with the government intervention to help them get financing and take the post so that that important national asset remains our property. Darboe agreed. So jang ay men photo wala nginti ko akote kiala ngina kaje ko na bankola poro kake dinkrati damen ay trafa ya mu sakunda ko ko bari we want Gambian lafita Gambia din wala marala Gambia din wala nyanta ka riti memba je tamandla anim fanan that can be done o sikeno nya jamal nya jibe ako kaje ko ka foreign company pro kana ka taro ke fena ko nyanda bekela fenati it must be able to get financing somewhere wekela fenati abe kodo sotla mendu nakuna abe sotla karakota la so ako why can't you also get syndicate komuna atuna kafo fanande sotna ga me syndicate pour do men bedene se do ko keno nyin dingira nyin Gambia la karonyina and with the government in mansakunda kaje ko wasi mansakunda si adadun jeto pour ka mako roke pour kodo sotla nyame pour ka nyin dinkrata o syndicat nyin pour ka tamandro ke ate poro nyin na jandi badila wandi banko company ako that important national asset ato dinkra men bankola feomen akum anafa warta baka kumada bage ko niajibe asinake ay tara hanibi mfamo bulu ñinin karo ke menna wala ñinti ko fo otit nano ka trantul fambul no ñame dabo be ñinin karo ke kam menna ate dinkira ñina karo ñin a continueta ak jamata ko la membe den ning ma sembe by election no ñina dabo e mem fo wada ko it serve as a referendum ko ñin keta fenneti men nzafo referendum wala yes or no President Adama Barrow aning ala National People's Party fo Gambia de ngol lafita la fo ma lafala aketa wolta ñinin karolem ako ma sembe by election o keta wolt ako if you follow the happening ako ni ata ebulata anokan kolmen keta jeto wata men na by election o ñimbe kering ako you cannot help but conclude that it is a referendum ako ñimu fennati te ku keno la bari mo safoton se kumfaro keno menna wala nginti ko ete se la kol kumfano damen adingra men keta jeto referendum wala ñinin karo la membe den nim baro la mansakunda la karo ñina wala mol la fitala fo man la fala bang wala mu wodi ako nyagi be di entire cabinet wala banko la minister B2 wol be keta molelti tata was there except for ni amanke vice president odama wole manta jeto all the big wing ni nara yibe kono kumbal bele ma beta jeto NPP la molting ni nara yibe ako all of them in B2 it was an election that nyamu election that attracted every Gambian kaketa election the ben ay Gambia dingul bele jabo mol be yilar membina kila jeto ko people in URR ati URR Gambia dangoto ma fangoñin na North Bank to lama fangoñin ani fanan West Coast region o ñindo kombo ani fanan indeed Barrow fang and his executive anala kunu kumbal be nyaton kolten were all very interested mo be sulo soto bake membina sotla ati ñin election o kilingo men aba fokante dabo yara kuma kan kumfa dame wala into that the election results reflected the people's dissatisfaction ako ñin election o men soto ta jeto ten ko ñeyitandiro kele Gambia diŋol maŋ lafi mume ke ninata jibe président Adama Barola ka continue ala kumol kumfa dulañinto ako it means a lot because ako ñing aketa kuleti men aketa suloti bake Baroe was facing a referendum, and verdict of the people is that you Baro have failed us. Kama nyinketa kuleti me akumada bage ako nyinketa Baro nyabetil ni menna no wala referendum mo men keta mo nyinin karo men keta menna na finti jeto wala kuma kamato wala nyinte ko ite Baro ye banku dengol felle ni nada e man banku dengol emese wondi e lafita menna ako we don't want you wala nyinte malla fila freng ni election wala itande, and we are going to repeat this in 2016, he said, or 2026, maybe type in error. Ako nyinem kukinote mitam membe murunkan na 2026 ninata jibe I mean isan. So kumo nying ngina soto jeto I memfo ye men safi anim fanan zinana saying abula audio no kan killing atafangola audio na nimola audio barbe folola molla audio lela jandi ba fala sunte wato nyin tema si aje ko ay danta damen sina murna kan sunte nafil kolala after 10 ma fa nyin kata 11 ma fa nyin so ngata audio min ngi gadat nyo kan pro la mo lal si la moy nala nyin time continue nyin kono
yo kunu ngai video sama bala ta mbulo mutare bal Gambian code wala tinna limol ko UDP la mu nendi lalti wala UDP di wala mu nendi lada kande jagal mo men yalo ko te ko tle mu banko bela president woni ibe sirin jang e kasi ka ko mo le ko fatiyata le ngar jaw firinda ke ba kotol mel yalo ko alfa kumba non mel fon sita wuduno ibe siri koto e kan nendiro ke ime konde mala nyin ke ba jube ni te lote te ko oppositional mu mo kuntawol lati tabu ko danko andunte Adama Barrow te mu oppositional de sanji jelu de opposition yala sanji jelu oppositional tresola mu tati Adama Barrow mo kana si koto e katare te fon nenna e katare ko mo nenna e katara jella ndeysaan nta malam fo man kawla moy bang fo man manni ka kawla moy bang fo man fahamle bang fo man I don't know nin keba ba koto be tembo men to ten nin na keba be tembo men to ten kasi koto kan nendiro ke ka banko be nen ka kafo be nen ka fo me alan ko walla majority siata kafo be di Gambia banko kan kasi kawol nen ando alfal do kono wo alfal me siata nyinti wol me siata be siata fo wuduno ala babaro mol kata siri koto kan nendiro ke e ke bulo ko si wala na nyim mo kuntiñaari wolu mo kalantawolu mo nafantawolu ni wolu be sirin e ka ko UDP ko le kan nendiro ke akante jakalde nyim bidio ala pilal be la mo kan keba wala ka kuma kawo men fo esa bala fa wata e ko hanyita e fatiyata be mo kilimoti e har yaw filinde ila hanyo ila fatiya UDP ko latine ta hanyita UDP ko latine ta fatiyata annu Adama Barrow ita kilin ita yalan ko ita kilin ita ta sise no famola sa ko isa bude no nin keba men ka si ta ko mara ka fo mo hajon tawlu mo kuntawlu mo hajon tawlu wonde la hajo tuje ini do kunta ya sanji mo ne saba ye dictator kele andu ita Adama Barrow fo bo mol kono o dictator kelo ita fo bo mol kono bal bi nyin keba babe tembo non ta ka si ka fo mo hajon tawol mo kuntawol nyin na keba ya be tembo non to ten ka Gambia be nen desa ni a fo sa fo o man kan ndiro bal sai jumal be si ni media ko ya fo Adama Barrow ko ita mo kuntawol ita mo hajon tawol e sa fo ya nen bal sai bar Adama Barrow ko ke ba koto be men siata Adama Barrow fonta sa wuluno dindi fa akasi akafu Adama Barrow ko mo hajon tawol mo kuntawol mel yalan ko be diamol andu Adama Barrow ita polo to opposition party la ko adama kana so mo katara siri ko katara e fa wonnen na fa katara e fa wonnen na e bukalo nda ma fo man kawle moy ban fo man ne ka kawle moy ban tamalo bal mo ni katara e ta fa wonnen nen kan ni katara e ta fa wonnen nen kan fo ni malon ko e ta fa lota opposition ya fo ni malon ko opposition do wolle la ko do mara en di tama fo ni malon ko opposition do wolle ta tambi fo ni malon ko ite be campaign ko waro ne ka campaign ko opposition do to yala opposition balu opposition
أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا
ntawala famole sanji sayde office bi mi fatiya mi hayita na firol siya na har jowa
amanke manasiti de mole atina baro mawnya soto mo kundangol ni mo hajun dangol
illa fefe ben noma fefe mum kala fefe mum en bi ko ha ete man la ni ba ko kanja mo mi do medo ko kanja mi ala ni man do ko ci fal bi kana la do interna ni e ki nyina defo ko kala do ko mi gaani ngam mo le ko men ngam nyina dara yak ni medo ni do ko mi do hani bi sama ndal mu do ministre ina talo do ki nyina do ko do bari ma do ko mi do ngai ni mo fara fati mi do mi Butuma na explain.
ni be time o teje ni odi saboda mambe wala bulal na bari ala mambe hakili bulanda ni ne musinya jelti mol kane ya ke ba ko rol alfa kumbande wala kane ya katara siri e ka bula banko be ka banko benen e ka bulo kosi e ka banko alfa benen e ka bulo kosi alfa jelle be opposition face kan alfa jelle be MPP face kan alfa jelle be GDC face kan alfa jelle be APRC face kan sai biti do bi political party men be Gambia opposition party men be Gambia wol beta agents kan sai wol be mo kunta wala wol be mo hajon tan wala ba because yin ke bay wala ite fo mo nyana so men andu alla camera manol e manke professional yalon camera manol ni professional ibe camera ke kan e kuma kan photo president nyaat no mel yalon ko dimosono lam nendiro lam ala kundu ala edik bali adama ilanyin camera manol manke professional la nim professional la modi nim mo sitete nyaat no ye nendiro ka ambiye banko bele neng ye opposition no le neng yalo ite ma lo ni kanyi menke dan wala ka na every day mo ka campaign kama every day mo ka because mo ka sile ke mi ite kunu ite polota opposition yaldo kunu ite polota opposition yaldo nim bi mo kana si e ka opposition no ne ite nyaako ite fonko bulo ko si wala e ka jela wala wul be dafa wal nan kan ite mo nyana sonno ila camera manol banka professional camera manol ni mu professional ni mo site te nyaate ye nendro wala dafa nendro fo re budi la jamo ko e nyanta kundula ya edik but they are not professional ila ni camera manol banka professional ila ni camera manol mu ko di la def ele la baraka tay mo teje yo wal kondo ni grupo ko jamman sa sumare na be janna mansa sumare na be janna ni grupo ko jam yo adama baro be siri ni bidi da ka fu jam ko ni sanyi sew kana kere keke noti a fatiyata a hanyita a harjaw firinda ale adama baro jibe kunu abete nyamen a jibe ya kun mule ya jele ya kun le mure e sajalo la kun kan kale ya kun jele e sajalo la kan gambian flag ya murura pour polisol kana sude sojarol kana sude jongula sol kana sude ndesa so nyin silo men kante nyin silo molbe silo men kante mansa sumare na be ndame to e sabuno kido ya kun to le ya fa mol mel be lori balate sai bun kilo da yefa altul mel ka mol banen adama baro la kola al kamol nen adama baro la kola ni lungo altul be min to mbe nyinin karo ke ka walla ni lungo albe min to adama baro jibi a ko jimi kamuta mome alon ko wallahi bala famo bi wala kasi ka fumo le ko mfatiyada hanyita harjo filinda ni lungo adama ta hanyina lo ka fu hanyita mfatiyada harjo filinda ni lungo adama ta fala altul mel yalan ko albe mol balen kan albe mol nen kan albe mol kaja fikan altul kebal mel be silin adama bala albe mol la alfal nen kan albe gambe alfal nen kan albe gambe diwol nen kan albe oppositionol nen kan malon kunu altul be damento yimbe kala lungo men ni lungo la wolu keba jama be je ni ko kwale sono ka fo na hanin taka ya jabe la fasa ni lungo la fo nin ke jama be gambia ni ko coalition ka fo ndaka ya jabe la fasa ndebe ya jabe ni lungo la gambien jama be je wolu ni ko coalition ka fo ndaka ya jabe la fasa bala fa warta bi mansa sumare na ba nyama state house kono atle nyanta mala drive atle nyanta fule nyinta nyi moto kar bor tajang bi tilo bi mansa sumare nyanta kala moti me ya lonko Gambia government drive atle nyanta kala drive bela gift drive bela boss nyanta katel bal fisil walle tamba wale nyin lungola bayo sonko silfo bayo sonko aka Jason Kantenyolo bi wolile adama wol be bay silfo bayo sonko nyolo atleka tala niye wa ka silo jube fo silo be dara fama be da na sojarol tala silo kan ani nyanda men kala nyola ke nyola je bo silo kan janne adama kana silfo bayo sonko aka ntebe jinin karola MPP altol mel bi al kamol banen sako ni sarakule fondi kol mel yalan ko albe diaspora al kamol banen ani ni URL fondi kol mel al kamol banen altol URL fondi kol mel al kamol banen adama baro kola kunu ngajele URL yole adama baro bal carte wala ya bal carte wala badi bunin kiyang anin kombo wallen adama winindi na danda URL ne kon still ya jame besiri bal bi jumane kamol banen adama kola fonnin ke jama be je boda URL fonnin ke jama be je boda URL de walla kamol banen adama kola kunun mawol ma kawo mo ni social media kono ñim bayture ñun mel do wul kanten bayture ñim be ñin kala ñin lungo men na ñin saja do be la ran adama kungo kan akuma be jimirin ten mo bu ka nya fawoje a nya ke so fawoje bu ka je abe ci men do ten bayture tebe min tolto o time o tebe min tolto altol mel be mo banen kan adama la kola nta kaltol ñin kan albe min tolto ñi ñanta kala kawandolti ñin natalo ñanta kala kawandolti ñin natalo jamal lebe jang bel yalon ko 2016 natal jamal be jang 2016 natal jamal be jang al fatamol ma nin kebal mel be sirin adama dala ka mol den ka oppositionol den ibe gambe dingol nenna ismaila cisse ete ko nimmen ko adamata lola 3 years ngaji be fontol fañol la tamuñum bankoti bare mbede jinin kala foytele ba tamuñum bankoti wala foytele fa tamuñum bankoti ismaila cisse ite ko kalo e kamol le banen e ka diaspora ko le nen e kontol ngaji be nin dol ko adamata lo fontol fañol la tamuñum ite foytele fa tamuñum bankoti ite fa tante ñum bankoti ba tante ñum bankoti ite kamol nen adamala kola ite lo raje ite nendite kele mom men ka adamala ite nendi jelle ke adama la jam bi tele ka fu mo le ko fondol fañol la tamu banko hani ndol fañol tande banko do gambe di mo be fal tamu banko de gambe di mo be tamu banko o furi no
there would have been no queries by the government for delays. But this is the type of things that happen. These are the results of compromised governments. These are the results on things on the part of a compromised government. We learned last week, we learned recently that the Minister of Finance signed a loan of $2 billion in December. Now, we are complaining, we are crying that there's already $118 billion loan that the Gambia has to pay. And to pay that, we are using $11 billion for the debt services. And I'm sure you all agree with me that $11 billion injected in agriculture would really do well for this country, will do well for our economy, and do well for our food security. Now, my calculation with the 1.8 billion, with 118 billion plus this, that's 20 billion. I have absolutely no doubt that if there is proper auditing of the activities and transactions carried by this government, we will find that there are several hidden loans that have not been disclosed to the people of this country. They are sitting on them because they do not want to expose how much damage they have done to this country. Because we've seen across the border what has happened. Since the change of government, some areas of government activities were audited, and it was discovered that several billion francs, CFA francs, or euros, were hidden. They were hidden, yes, they were never disclosed by the government. And the same thing, I can tell you, is probably happening in this country. Now, and I wonder why the Minister of Finance has not really disclosed this loan. For all I know, it was not indicated in the budget speech. I don't know if you are following. It was not mentioned in the budget speech, and I believe the budget speech really carries everything, or should carry everything that affects the economy of our country, and certainly these $2 billion would drastically affect the economy of this country, because it's going to add up to our national debts, and it's also going to increase our debt service portfolio. So this should be made known to Gambians. But all these allocations are the development projects that have been initiated, and the projections are based on what? As I've said, we are not a country endowed with resources. We have our agriculture, we have our fisheries, and we have our tourism. We are not as endowed as Nigeria or even Senegal, because now that Senegal has gas of oil, they have been endowed resources, and even other countries that are grappling with their with some sort of crisis are not, and are the ones that's really can boast of the fact that all their activities are being financed from their resources. Now, these projections are based on what? Our growth is based on what? On loans. And we are not even sure whether the loans that you anticipate that you will get, you may not get it. Then you anticipate getting $5 billion in loans, and it ends up being $3 billion or $2 billion. Grants may not also all be realized. And of course, taxes also. And the taxes are also based on projections that so much will be collected in taxes, and all this added up together is what is taken as an assumption to project our economic growth. And these assumptions, which really do not rhyme in with reality. The corruption that we've been talking about, we find it in appointments, we find it in promotions, we find it manifesting itself in other ways. Now, what we have been faced with is our national assets have been gradually sold. And now when I say sold, I say so with great caution. An asset that is given away for 30 years, and what you benefit from it is just 20%, and the rest 80% goes to whom you call your partner. That is as good as selling, because for 30 years, when you don't have any control over your assets, that is as good as selling it. The bridge, which is also mortgage, although this is recycled, is also virtually given away. $100 million for a period of 15 years. You are giving it away. It does not enough to the benefit of the country. And you know what? We are having promises of having new roads. And what is happening is Afrimex Bank is providing the loan, is providing the money. You know, GRA is not a government. So GRA itself cannot take a loan. So what they are doing is to pass this through the central bank. And then, of course, they issue bonds for this to be put in the market, the financial market, in order to raise, I think it's about 75 million. I'm not too sure about that, about $75 million. Yeah. So, you can see how manipulative the government is. It's GRA that is the beneficiary. GRA cannot take a loan. GRA cannot take a loan. So use government institution to take it, and then you have a bank here through which they will do the exchange of the dollars, I mean the fixed rates and so forth. And all these are avenues through which palms will be anointed, palms will be oiled. So another avenue for corruption. Now, when I talk about it, giving you asset away for 30 years, I'm referring specifically to the Gambia Ports Authority. Most of us know that when the Gambia Ports Authority was established in the 1970s, from being Marine Department to a fully fledged state corporation, it was doing very well. Its first managing director, I believe, was Captain Salah. Captain Salah did magnificent job as managing director of Gambia Ports Authority, and others came on. The Aliumbuj, the Pachans, the Modigays, the Jaganas. They came in, even Jiba in Jammeh's time, and did wonderful work. In those days, goods destined for Guinea-Bissau were brought to the ports of Banjul. Goods destined for Mali were brought to the port of Banjul. And of course, the activities, the transit activities, was really serving our country in a lot of ways. Because it's just not port charges that were there, but then vehicles hired from here and taking goods to Guinea-Bissau, to Mali. Now, if you even have 10 bicycles, you want to ship to Banjul, you have to take it to Dakar and have it landed in Dakar. What has happened? Is it that we have lost that quality of managers, the Pachams? Have we lost those qualities, quality managers? To the extent that we cannot operate our port in a way that will be of benefit to this country, do we have to give it away for free? Because I say for free, because 30 years of a very strategic national asset given to a foreign shows a lot or speaks a lot about the capability and capacity of the management. How many studies do we have on the expansion of the Banjul Port project? Is it not one of those studies that led to Halfdai being moved? Huge amount of money paid as compensation to residents of Halfdai. I think the only structure that was saved in that area is the mosque, the Imam Muhammad Lamin Bas Mosque. That was only a structure that was saved. Having spent all that money, and it was done on studies that were validated, why can't we implement that decision? Why do you give it away to a company elsewhere? I'm not against private companies or foreign companies coming to the Gambia. I want them to come. I want them to come and invest. But our strategic national asset, I think, should be in the control of the Gambians. I think when government wants to have resources to develop the Gambia ports, to develop our harbor, I think they should have really organized a conference of Gambian entrepreneurs. And I believe they have sages, they have economic experts, have financial gurus in this country who will come out with suggestions that will ensure that Gambians, if they do not have full control or majority shares in the Gambia Ports Authority, they will certainly have shares that is appreciable. But to give everything away and not affording the Gambians the opportunity to really buy it, I think, or to invest in it, I think that's really doing a great deal of disservice to our country and putting our national assets in the hands of foreigners. After we have seen how Gambia Commercial and Development Bank was government owned, You have a lot of Gambians who have shares in Trust Bank, Gambia Commercial Development, that end up being Trust Bank. You have them. Could such a scheme not have been worked out so that with the Gambian people participating, there could be ways and means of raising funds to really develop the budget board to standards that meets every international standards. But again, this government certainly does not think in a way that will help put the economy of this country in the hands of Gambians. And I think when we come in, we'll make sure that the economy of this country is put in the hands of the Gambians. We hear Gamcel and Gamtel also are likely to be sold. If you go across to Nigeria, you'll find that the telecommunication industry is completely in the hands of Nigerians. Why can't we do the same? If you want to sell Gamcel or Gamtel, why don't you give it to Gambians? Why try to make arrangements with people from God knows where and taking our this very important national assets. Now, sometimes this government is just one that gets involved in pretensions, as the Wallachs would say, Kyle Gisma. So that people say, oh yes, they did well. About a few days ago, we had the chairman of Social Security and Finance Corporation reveal what this government has done. The loans that were contracted to purchase those buses were not with the Gambia, with the GTSC. They were the Social Security loaned the government of the Gambia. And you can see that the government is trying to pass on those loans to the Gambia Transport Services. Yes, Gambia Transport Services is responsible for provision of public transportation in this country, but they do so within their limits. If they do not have the financial backing, the financial backbone to do so, I don't think they would get involved in it, because the profits that they should realize would not be. They would not have they would certainly do not have the financial backbone. But government forced it, I tell you, and I tell you this with a high degree of certainty. Government forced that project because Carnifing Municipal Council was introducing the urban transport services, urban bus services. They said we'll preempt them because their target was to do it September last year. That was the target of the Carnifing Municipal Council. So they said, look, we'll just sweep the carpet under them. We'll get Social Security to give money to buy buses, and we say we did it. And now they are reneging on that agreement. But of course, it's a government that lives by deceit, a government that really deceives people. This is how they do things. I think really the most honorable thing would be for the Minister of Finance to find the ways and means of repaying retirees, the pensioners' funds. These are funds that belong to the Gambian pensioners. Those funds should be invested in ventures that will benefit the pensioners. You cannot take pensioners' funds, put it in this type of enterprise, and then you start arguing that you are responsible or that one is responsible. So there is a high risk of the Gambian pensioners losing a very significant part of their contribution to the funds that Social Security operates. But I mean, a government that sits at attires and then say, "Man, boy, finally, one man you're definitely." This is the type of decision they take, and not in the interest of the government people. Now, and I'm not sure really how much the president, whose special project was this, I'm not sure how much thought he gave to the pensioners. I'm sure whose monthly pensions, I do not think have been increased for the past years. Because I'm sure if they did, there would have been announcements of it. There might have been announcements, which I didn't, but I doubt if there was any. So the protection of the pensioners' funds should be very paramount with this government, because it was one of the issues that came out in the Jamia Commission, that how Yahya Jammeh, dipped into his hands into these institutions. So this should really have been very clear to them that he shouldn't really get involved in that. Now, there are a lot of acts of impunity that are taking place. Currently, we have the is it Babkar Bahum? Is it Babkar Bahum? Yeah. We have the Babkar Bahum and Bintanjai saga. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. And this why at one time I gave an unsolicited advice to the Inspector General of Police to say that he should be very careful in decisions that he takes, especially decisions that appear to be of a political nature or affect politicians, or decisions that issues leading to that decision have some political undertone. And I advised him, although he didn't solicit the advice, that he should be careful about it. He should be careful because he is the brother-in-law of the president. And any action taken by him that looks or gives the impression of being biased would just be attributed to the fact that he's doing so because he's the president's brother-in-law. And this might be one of those cases. I do not really buy what I see in the social media that probably the first lady was involved. I do not buy that. Because sometimes people just do things and you say, doing so, or really please Mr. X or Mr. Y. Why is it? What Mr. Bahum did was outrageous, was unacceptable. You do not insult a whole community. And the Inspector General of Police said that he is satisfied with his apology. That is not what should be the position of the Inspector General of Police. You know, Mr. Bahum, the statements he made are seditious. They are seditious. And because any statement that tends to raise disaffection or discontent amongst the inhabitants of the Gambia is seditious. Inspector General of Police, I ask you to arrest Mr. Bahum, subject him to proper interrogation, read the whole article, and see whether that statement is not likely to cause disaffection or discontent among the people of Kiang. It is seditious. You cannot hide behind an apology when a person commits a crime. You cannot hide behind that. I urge you to do so, to show fair-handedness. And Bintanjai, as a Kianka, has the right to say, look, you do not condone this type of statement, because it's a statement that can cause civil strife in that community. If some Kianka boys go out and physically attack Bahum, what would he say? Are you going to charge him for assault? When he has already insulted my grandmother, my grandfather, my father, my uncle? Let us be even-handed in the discharge of our duties. IG Toure, I'm telling you, look at section 52 of the Criminal Code. Ask your legal advisors to advise you on section 52 of the Criminal Code whether this statement uttered, whether they were written by Bangkok Bahum, whether they are not seditious. If they are not, then I think sedition would have another meaning that the law does not provide for. And I want all you to tell you that you have absolutely no right to accept his apology, because he did not offend you. It is not you, he directly says that, not you. So you are not the one to accept the apology. If anything, it is the people of Kiang that voted against Barrow's candidates, because they were the ones that were addressed by that very, seditious statement, thing that can erupt to violence. You are not the ones addressed. Those who voted against Barrow's, and they were people that we consider as ungrateful. You cannot accept the apology. It is those offended who that can accept the apology. Your duty now is to put in motion a proper investigation. That is what your duty is. And send the file to the Attorney General, and we will be watching. But that issue has not been now been limited to Binta. She has been, I understand, she has been transferred to, I believe, Kauru, somewhere in the province. Yes, any officer, any serving officer can really be transferred to any duty station. But the circumstances under which this lady has been transferred to this provincial station is meant to punish her for standing up with her community, for standing up with people who think rightly. And that is wrong. That is misuse of power. That is misuse of your office. If you had done it under other circumstances, nobody will query. But under these circumstances, no. You're doing it to punish her. And she doesn't deserve to be punished. The person who should be punished is Bambo. And that is taking place, is transferred. Other people who have been identified to be in the same circle with Bintanjai are now being taken to provincial stations, and some to police posts and police stations that are far below their ranks. Say, yes, what do you say? I'll break the cabal here. And I tell you, gentlemen of the press, one of the people who has been threatened with transfer is my son-in-law, because they know that he was his double son-in-law. Very efficient. officer, well educated. He has been involved in security work outside of this country. Very competent. But because he was Ousainou Darboe's son-in-law, that these UDP guys, we must get rid of all of them. But this is not what we have bargained for. President Barrow, this is not what we have bargained for. In 2016, we took away Jammeh from State House because we want a society, want a country where people really get what they deserve, meritocracy. That is what we want in this country. Not people in services, promotions, transfers, and appointments services being based on one's political coloration. I want to urge IG to really reconsider Ms. Jai's posting, because you should not punish her for really saying that, gentlemen, you shouldn't insult me. I come from here. Don't insult me. Another happening in the government, which is a clear violation of our laws and the Constitution, is NPP's former, how do you call it, I don't know whether director, and an officer in charge of research and so forth, Kemo Conte. I know him, so some of you know him. You know Kemo, when he was in the executive of the NPP, he was appointed to the Public Service Commission. And I raised the issue that the law prohibits that. And he immediately resigned from his membership of the executive of the NPP. But, you know what happened? After that, he was appointed as deputy chairman of GRTS. Deputy chairman of GRTS. And the Constitution provides that you cannot be a member of the Public Service Commission and be a member of the governing body of a public enterprise. And GRTS is a public enterprise. But you know, these people, they just violate the law as they go along. They don't care. Because you want to satisfy. You want Mr. Conte to have, additional earnings. You appoint him as deputy chair of GRTS, while he's also serving as a member of the Public Service Commission. And you know what? No one can be appointed to the governing body of any public enterprise. You cannot be appointed there by the president, except on the advice of the Public Service Commission. So he's a member of the Public Service Commission, now advising the president to appoint him to GRTS. What an anomaly. What an anomaly. So, these are government, the government is not misprioritizing things, and also doing things that the Gambian people have fought against from 1996 to 2016. When they finally succeeded. And we see that rarely is said again. Now, talking about Gambian people fighting for a cause, talking about that, we cannot live here without talking about the efforts of His Excellency Ibn Chambers for a new constitution. I applaud him. I pay special tribute to this gentleman who has shown great interest in our country and the democratic governance, even before this time. I know he was involved with the Gambia. Now, his efforts, I think, have been frustrated by President Adama Barrow. What stops Barrow to adopt the people's draft, bring it to the National Assembly? And if they have any grounds with any provision of the 2020 draft, then bring it to the floor of the National Assembly. That has always been our position, that whatever changes you want to make to the 2020 draft, come with it to the National Assembly. And if you are able to convince the Assembly that changes should be done to any particular provision, let it be. But can't go out there, sit there, and believe that you can draft any document and push it down the throat of the Gambian people. Well, the United Democratic Party may agree, but not under my leadership. Because I want a constitution for the Gambia, but not any constitution. And my thinking, because if I say not under my leadership, I know that the thinking of the United Democratic Party is that the 2024 draft, Barrow's draft, should not be the one that should be presented to the National Assembly. You have, is it not time that we do away with nominated membership of the National Assembly? Now, he is trying to increase the number of nominated members in the National Assembly. I think from 5 to 9. But not only that, but also he can dismiss you because the Yakumba Jaite under Jammeh's constitution, as bad as it is, protects National Assembly members from being told that I nominate you and I tell you, go to the National Assembly and say A, B, C, D, because that is what I want. If you don't say it, I revoke your appointment. Is that what Gambians want? Is that not the executive interfering in the legislature? Where is the separation of powers? Where you put in separation of powers? The whole chapter 5 on leadership and integrity is taken out. But it doesn't surprise me. You know why? The Anti-Corruption Act that was assented to in January this year. I think it's 30th January this year. There is a section in that act that says that allegations of corruption from 1917 from 2017 to the date that he signed the Anti-Corruption Act cannot be subject of investigation. Fighting corruption, and you put that in the law, in Anti-Corruption Act. And then put in the Constitution that when you leave office as president, or when your minister leaves office, he will not disclose, or he cannot be forced to disclose his assets. And it is between the period that you are a minister and your date that you exit that you have the chance to really be engaged in corrupt practices. That's the time that you make deals in the contracts, in procurements, and all those things. And then you say, no, you should not. And you want that constitution to be presented to the National Assembly? When I kid the 500 Gambians here? No, really. Really, it's taking Gambians for granted. It's really taken for Gambians for granted. And I just want to say shortly on that United Democratic Party, we want a constitution, but we do not want any constitution. The 2020 draft constitution is the one that has been the subject of considerable discussion, broadly, in the Gambia and outside of the Gambia. All sectors of the society, the Gambia Press Union, the Bar Association, Teachers Union, women, political parties, all have been involved in really contributing their ideas to the 2020 draft. Whereas the 2024 draft was Jammeh and his cabinet. I'm sorry, Barrow and his cabinet. They are the only, it was only their thoughts that were put in that. When that draft was before it was gazetted, it was never presented to the Gambian people to discuss it and to say, well, this is what I feel about clause 1. This is what I feel about clause 13. They took us for granted and took it there. And they think that they can blackmail some Gambians. No. Our position is 2020 draft. And the argument that they make that, but a draft that has been rejected, how can you bring it to the National Assembly? Who says you cannot bring it? I want them to show me anywhere in the standing orders of the Gambia or in the constitution of the Gambia that a measure that has been defeated by the National Assembly in the same session in which it was defeated, but not another session. So this is our position on the draft constitution. And of course, also there are a lot of I don't know whether I should see debate, but there are a lot of views, different views have been expressed about third term and so forth. The constitution, current constitution, does not provide for a third term, absolutely. But men are judged by their words. In 2016, 2016, before President Barrow went to Mali, when well-wishers were coming to meet him at Brufut Height, he did make a statement that, yes, Gambians must now realize that no president can really go back to his office if the Gambians reject him at the election. The Gambians' power is manifested, that they are the people who have the power to change the government, and is manifested in the 2016 elections. There can be no doubt about that. And he also said, look, from now on, no Gambian will serve as president of this country for more than 2 terms. And I believe that no president includes him. So if there is no provision in the Constitution, your word at that time, address your well-wishers, that no person will serve president of this country for more than 2 terms. I think, Mr. President, you should abide by that, and that should be, that should be a moral code that should really, guide you. But of course, he has a choice to really do what is expected of him as part of his own declaration. But if he does not, I think the Gambian people will get together and vote against him, so that the third term that he's talking about, he will not have a third term. And so, for sure, when he does not have a third term in office, then the party that he wants to save, will die in its infancy. So, gentlemen of the press, I want to thank, I think I've been talking too long, so I just want to thank you for honoring our invitation, and hopefully we will meet soon. But now one last point. In my congratulatory letter to the President, I did say that in the next couple of days, he will be called upon to appoint a new chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission. I believe the current chairman, who appears to have overstayed, will vacate office in February. On Friday. There would be no issue of a renewal. So, Mr. President, I just want to repeat my appeal. But then, with this slant, the 2020 draft does provide for qualifications of chairmen of independent institutions. I believe also your draft also has a similar provision, and that is to say that the chairman of independent institutions like Human Rights Commission, Independent Electoral Commission, must be judges of the Supreme Court or a person or a retired judge or a person qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court. Mr. President, if you believe in your 2024 draft, please look for a judge of the Supreme Court, a retired judge, or a person qualified to appoint as judge of the Supreme Court, appoint him as chairman. Don't appoint someone who does not have that qualification. Because there is a deeming provision that the Independent Electoral Commission or the existing institutions will continue to be the institution as if they were appointed under the Constitution that we expect to come into force. So you wouldn't have any deeming provision. So I ask you, Mr. President, that there are judges who are competent, who are honest, who are sincere, who are patriots, to show us that you really even want your own constitution. Please act now and appoint a judge as chairman of the Independent Electoral Commission. I thank you all. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Party Leader. Members of the press, and all those present here, we have just listened to a wide-ranging rendition of the situation of the Gambia as of today. The party leader has touched on corruption, touched on integrity, leadership,